Hello, this is Elizabeth and Elton Brewington, and we are here with our emotional intelligence series on prosperity. And yes, we are doing 30 speakers and we've done 12 sessions, and you can get a hold of all these videos to help you with your leadership journey on our website. And if you subscribe, we'll share with you all the videos so you won't miss a single one. And I am delighted to have Samantha Silverman, and she's no stranger to Brightside. She's been on our show before, and we just absolutely love you, Samantha. Every time you come
Likewise.
on our show, it's always so precious. So, Samantha is the owner and founder of Silver Lining Mental Health, a counseling practice focused on trauma informed care after witnessing the horror of the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks firsthand. She transformed her trauma into a powerful story of resistance and now helps individuals to achieve growth and resilience after the trauma. So, Samantha, tell us about this journey that you've been on and about this book. We want everyone to get this book and write a review. Now, we wrote a review and you
I
need to write one too. So,
I saw. Thank you so much for that review. I am so appreciative. And yes, this has been quite a journey. I never set out to write about 9/11. However, after I went through the attacks, I found that writing was so cathartic and helped me heal. And I decided to put pen to paper. And in sharing my story, it just helped me go through the healing process. And I really hope that this book can also help other people heal who are going through a trauma or any kind of difficult life situation.
so true. Um, and I think the book is so well written because it's a very easy read and it's really good for anyone who's been through some kind of trauma. Now, how do you describe a trauma victim?
That is such a great question, and that is a question that I get so frequently. Firstly, trauma doesn't just have one definition. Two people can experience the same event and have two completely different reactions to what happened.
Oh,
It's what happens after, what happens to that person, what happens to their lifestyle. That's how we define a trauma. There was a study done in which 70% of adults in the United States have stated that they have witnessed at least one traumatic event in their lifetime. What trauma does is it actually rewires the brain and it can shut down the nervous system. Trauma can cause emotional and physical symptoms such as depression, anxiety, sleep disturbances, emotional reactivity, and many times trauma can lead to chronic health conditions that are misdiagnosed as just health conditions with no link to the traumatic event. However, the really interesting thing about trauma and about the brain is that the brain has this ability to form new pathways, and that is something known as neuroplasticity. The brain is the only organ in the human body that does this. But just how trauma can rewire the brain, neuroplasticity can bring the brain back to a state of healing, a state of safety, and what I want everyone to know is that healing doesn't erase what happened, but it can redefine what comes next.
what comes next?
What comes next? It is so different for everybody. For me, gosh, I went through 9/11 and I did not have a clear picture of what I wanted my life to be. I was in my very early 20s. After 9/11, I decided that I wanted to go back to school and pursue a career in social work because I saw so many therapists, social workers who helped me heal after the attacks. I never set out to lead a group practice. I set out to understand myself and to understand others, but so many series of events in that journey led me to where I am today. I started out working with Holocaust survivors for 10 years, and then I moved to Colorado and I worked for the insurance industry for 3 years. The combination of working with humans and seeing that resiliency and that resilient spirit with Holocaust survivors, combined with the work that I did for the insurance industry, just shaped where I am today. When COVID hit, mental health completely skyrocketed, and there needed to be more therapists in the field. That's when I hired, and our practice really grew into providing trauma-informed care. I would say that every step of my journey, from working with Holocaust survivors to growing a team, has reinforced one truth: healing begins with human connection.
Yes, that is so true. And we've seen that people are more accepting of mental going to a therapist after COVID, because after COVID, it really changed everyone's life. And we saw many cases where people who didn't even have any illnesses, or they didn't have any like inflammation. We're talking to Dr. Kaplan today, and inflammation just, the numbers just rose with people having issues um, with those kind of things, and definitely mental awareness.
Right.
Um, so, what advice would you give to somebody? Because
So,
most of us are in denial. So if you've been through a traumatic experience, or domestic violence, or a loss of a loved one, or a major catastrophe like a 9/11 or a train crash or a hurricane situation, if you've been through something like this, what are how do you become aware that it's time to see a therapist?
yeah, that's such a great question. And I want everybody to know that healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about remembering and figuring out who you are beyond the pain. The first step in healing is stability. Healing cannot happen in crisis. An individual needs to be in a safe space in order for healing to occur. After that, what is super important is to gain insight into your behavior and insight into your pattern, whether that's seeking out the help of a mental health therapist or gaining awareness or insight. I also speak to what I find is really important for my own self growth, and that's the trifecta of mind, body, and soul. You want to make sure that you're learning something new every day, that you're cultivating healthy relationships. You want to also ensure that you are doing some kind of somatic or physical activity, such as exercise or walking. And when I speak to the soul, you can either find an outlet such as religion, but it has to be something that is bigger than yourself, something through faith, community, or even humanitarian work. What I also want everybody to know is that the journey of recovery, it begins with feeling safe enough to heal, turning your insight into action, and being consistent. And that's where the transformation happens.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, we highly recommend that. Even if you don't feel like you need a therapist, look for one, because there are triggers that come up. And get this book, because it is almost like you've got a personal therapist giving you advice, because Samantha has done such a great job. She walks you through all kinds of issues that you might have with alcohol, or any addictions. And the book is really very, very well written. And so if you're suffering today, get the book, get some advice, and get some help. And I'm going to turn it over to Elton. Elton, do you have any questions for
Oh, I
Samantha?
do, I do. Amazing story, Samantha. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I commend
Thank
you for
you.
being able to record it and to write it and to put it into perceptual content. You know, from an experience point of view, I can't imagine what your experiences must have been like. but you did consequentially observe, absorb, and now we're transmitting to other people. And as we process this, and people who are going through things similar to this, or comparably, how, I mean, your placement. I mean, well, invariably, when you're thinking to, my father used to say, if you can look up, you can get up, in the healing process. And it's a little rough cut in terms of, okay, you got to be about moving forward. Have to be about moving forward. What does it take to move forward? How can I process this healing? And how do you put your mind into the set of healing? Okay, and because pain is, pain is pain, and
Mm,
you can, you have this perception. Okay, I want to go here. I want to do this. I want to be here. And sometimes the body doesn't cooperate, but
mm,
it's still healing. It's still
mm.
healing, And so, what was that like for you in terms of healing through the process that way?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And everybody's experience is so incredibly different. And I really just want to let everybody know that their experience of feeling pain and going through healing, it is so different depending on your lifestyle, depending on your professional career, depending on your relationships. For me personally, I was at such a young age when I went through that. I did not yet have the insight to link my patterns with post-traumatic stress disorder. It wasn't until I went through therapy and then went back to school that I was able to link that pain, Elton, that you were just speaking to. That pain was emotional and mental. And I wasn't able to link that until I went back to school and processed where that pain was coming from. And then I was able to heal when I gained that insight and when I started putting practices into place, such as developing a healthy lifestyle routine, eating healthy, exercising, and cultivating healthy relationships, even leaving some relationships that I felt like were unhealthy and that were no longer benefiting me. So that was a big part of my healing journey.
Well, I'm going to have to let Erin come on because she's my next interview. But thank you, Samantha, and also for the 9/11. We'll make sure that that link is available so people can see what you really went through, and for the great advice and this amazing book. And I wish you much success with the book. And thank you so much for coming on our show. And you are on Discover Brightside video, podcast, and network. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
And
Appreciate you.
I will stop